Mr. St. John.
Yeah.
How good of a drummer are you? Like, brag about yourself.
Oof.
Boast about yourself. I like you to tell me like who you work with.
I have worked with some pretty incredible artists over the years. And for whatever reason, sometimes you're with them for a couple of gigs, sometimes it's for a couple of years, sometimes from the start to finish of a artist career. I will start with some big ones. And I have lots of different aspects of what I do around drums. Like we talked about, like I play obviously live and record. That's how I make most of my money. I teach, another aspect. I do consulting work, which means I get brought into different situations to show other drummers or um, teach them the process of recording drums or uh, help producers. Like a lot of producers these days drum on the albums. Like there's budgets aren't as big, and like pop music doesn't require the level of a player that needs to be, a phenom drummer. The producer can just lay down beat, and so I'll be there and help them guide through what drums to use, how to play them, what cymbals, snares, that whole thing. So that's drum consulting. Um, Another major part of my business is and career is working for a company called Drum Doctors, and basically it's kind of that same thing of like drum consulting of a high level, bringing in drums and guidance and knowledge and tuning for recording sessions around Los Angeles. So there's all different aspects of what I do, and I've gotten to work with huge artists and all different genres of that. So some big ones would be Stevie Wonder. I've gotten to record one-on-one with Stevie Wonder. It's one of my most proud, amazing pinch me moments a few times, which is great. Um, this last few years, I've been working with Metallica on the regular basis and got brought into their camp for all different aspects. Um, I've had to sign NDA, so I can't tell you too much other than that.
I
But
know that's why I said I'm like, I'm gonna
uh,
ask, and then he can say what he wants to
yeah,
say. All right, yeah, just all this stuff in my pockets. Ah, so my dad, he gave me a fanny pack for
Christmas.
yeah. So I gave in, man. He gave me one of those it's kind of like an over the shoulder type one.
Oh yeah, like one of the European dude
Yeah.
things. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's I haven't used it yet. I still have it there, but I think I'm definitely gonna start using it because I got too much shit in my pockets all the time. I got to that fucking age where I need a fucking fanny pack, man. Do you have a
I,
fanny
I
pack?
I don't have a fanny pack. I don't know if I'm to that level. Yeah, if somebody bought me one, I'd probably think about it. But
Yeah, you're covering
uh
that
don't cover the
beautiful
beauty.
face,
Don't cover the
man.
beauty. I have a satchel. I have in the spirit of Indiana Jones, I have a satchel that I bring with all my shit. You know, I don't know.
You like your moisturizer?
I should have some moisturizer. There's lots of. I have my Purell in there. That comes with me everywhere. Keys, my wallet. iPad, my in ears while I'm playing. iPods, my cords, cables, chargers. Yeah, I mean, I can roll light too. I have just a thin little wallet and my phone that I can roll with when I'm just going out. But if I'm leaving
For a minute.
for a minute, yeah, the satchel comes with
What color is the satchel?
dark brown. It's
Okay.
cool. It's Indiana Jones.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I love Indiana Jones, man.
What color's your
It's black.
black
It's
leather?
no, no, it's not black leather. It's like canvas.
Canvas, good. Yeah.
Yeah, he has a. He found this website. I think everybody's starting to order from it. Um, I've seen it online, but he's just ordering shit all the time. He's ordering. So he bought me a lighter. He got me electric lighters. So they come with like a USB cord, and it's like Bluetooth. So I just put my thumb on it,
Hmm.
and then it's like a coil, and then it lights up. I can
Right.
light my cigarettes and stuff like
Right.
that. And so it has dragons on it. Like one's a red one, one's a black one, has little dragons on it. He's very much into Asian culture.
Okay.
My dad, he loves Asian movies and Korean movies, and he loves watching them in their own language. So like he likes dragons because it's part of,
Oh, okay.
that culture and stuff. And so he got them for me. I'm like, all right, cool. He got me the satchel. What else did he get me from there? He's just always buying stuff. Um, yeah, we need to take my dad. We need to take the internet away from my dad. My mom found flat Earth conspiracy theories, and I'm like, Mom, please stop watching that shit. Like people, the thing is, I know she's saying it jokingly, but I'll catch her on video, and she'll like pretend that she believes that. I'm like, Mom, people are really gonna believe that you think that. So yeah, parents are funny, man.
Yeah.
Parents are interesting.
Yeah. My mom is. And she doesn't do that much of a thing online, but she definitely has changed mentality and preferences on you name the topic, whether not politics, but point of view on the world from time to time. And it's like, oh, that's interesting. She grew up kind of a hippie and always around music because of my dad. And then now she's her current fiance is the opposite. Mechanic, construction guy outside, like kind of Northwoods, Wisconsin dude, and she's taken on some of those traits. So it's funny how her new partner has changed her from the way my dad was. Uh, and even same with like if I look at my own relationship with like Kim, like it's like, oh, we've both you kind of start to share attributes or likes and dislikes or whatever your weird thing is, you know what I mean? Like I grew up in Green Bay, diehard Packers fan, hated the Cowboys, but being with her for 7 years now, over 7 years, like now I'm like, oh, we're gonna watch the Cowboys game. I'm rooting for the Cowboys unless they're playing the Packers, right? But little things like that, you're like, whoa, that didn't see that one coming.
It's my dad said, one time it's you try to pick up the best from each other, right?
Right.
So if you're maybe an extrovert and she's an introvert, you bring out that extrovertness out of her, and then she brings the quiet side out of you. So I think that's all it, well, let me ask you this. Do you think it's like opposites attract, or it's like you have to have like certain commonalities to actually work and function?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't necessarily think opposites attract because there's some things that I need to have the commonality with, like, for example, cleanliness. Like, I love things to be tidy, clean, everything's got their place. I like order and set
Yeah,
schedules.
look at your studio, my friend.
Right.
Everything is in its
Yeah, you
place.
can see it, right?
Oh,
And
yes.
and I like being able to find things and like my life is set by schedules and like routines, as much as I can. But But there's some things that like, I'm sure just with like your relationships where like you're like, oh, this person gets me out of my comfort zone and that's fun. I'm going out and doing this or I'm trying this food. Like we'll take oysters. I would have never had an oyster, like a big old seafood booger or whatever,
Yeah,
and
big old
like
loogie.
and now it's like, oh, well, now I'm into it because first of all, it was a thing. Like I got into it with Kim and was like, oh, this is weird. And then it's like, oh, I get it. You have this and the accoutrement that you put on, little sauces but it became a thing. And then you're like, oh, these kinds aren't that bad. You don't have to eat the gross ones. Oh, I get it. There's uh, things like that.
Yeah, that's the thing. Sometimes like people will say that, oh, opposites attract, opposite, and I'm like, no, like not long. I don't believe in, and again, these are our own beliefs, right?
Right, of course. Yeah.
And so I don't think you can be too opposite. It's like there's certain things about that person that obviously attracted you, but it's usually something that you have in common, especially if it's a long-term relationship.
Yeah.
Like if it's, a good time, then okay, she could be super different. Don't matter none.
Yeah.
But if I'm gonna live with this person, I'm gonna create a life with this person. I want kids, she doesn't want kids. Well, hey, that's that's something I'm not willing to bend on. So you can't be too different. There has to be commonalities, and so that's really cool that you're seeing. And I don't want to say it in a bad way, but that growth
Hmm.
in your mom
Yeah.
with
Yeah,
her
totally.
partner. Yeah.
Totally. And yeah, no, I think it's great. I love seeing her happiness. Anybody's
What's
happiness.
your mom's name?
Marlene.
Marlene.
Yeah.
Hi, Marlene.
Hi, mom.
Hi,
She'll for
mom.
sure watch this.
Yeah.
Uh, no, it's fun to see her growth and change over the years. She's still working. She's still like, I love seeing her, just joy to go to work and have coworkers. And, she doesn't like to work as much or as hard anymore, but, that's fine, but she loves having the schedule and being at home in Wisconsin with family and friends, which is why she doesn't live here with me, which I wish she did live in California, but
How's the weather in Wisconsin? I've never been to Wisconsin, but
never
yeah.
been. Mm, it varies.
Could I wear this in Wisconsin?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
you could, but only in the spring and fall.
Okay.
Summer, it gets
So like definitely not right now.
not right now. No, no. It's I mean, it's cold out here in LA right now as far as our range of temperature and weather, but in Wisconsin, it gets real cold. I mean, as cold as any place in continental North America, for sure. I mean, I've only been to a few places in the world that get as cold as Wisconsin because you're right by the lakes, and you get
Wisconsin is like by the Great Lakes or
yeah, yeah. It's
okay.
right next to Lake Michigan, so it's the one that looks like a hand basically, and Green Bay is right where the thumb and like hand go up as far as the shape of the state. And with that lake effect and like the Canadian air that comes down, I mean, we had wind chills and -60, -70 degrees wind chill. That's cold. I mean, it would just,
-60?
-60 Fahrenheit. And on a regular basis, like in the winter, the dead of
Dude,
winter,
my bones hurt
January.
just thinking about
Yeah,
that.
no, I don't know how, I don't know how I did it. Now I'm out here and like my blood is thinned. We're like, what is it, probably 65 outside today? And I'm
Dude,
like,
I
I had to
have
turn the
my
heat
big
on in
ass,
here.
fur coat jacket, my
Yeah,
Levi's jacket.
I'm
Yeah.
I'm freezing. I'm not wearing a coat right now just so I can look cool, but that's but yeah, my blood is thin and I think about, just waking up and going to school and like having to start your car 20 minutes before you get into it so that you can thaw the windshield and the door handles from the ice and like just so the engine has a chance to run and all the oils and the greases can warm up so you can drive your vehicle because it's -20 degrees out without the wind chill. Like
Did you have to shovel snow when you were growing up?
constantly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. So
Did you have
much
snow days?
all the time. Yeah,
Really?
we would have cold days where it got too cold, so you had to stay inside. 'Cause you
Really?
could, yeah. It was a whole thing.
That's like from the school or from like the city they announced that or I don't.
The school districts would
Okay.
like announce it, but yeah, it was for
I sound so
safety.
stupid right now. I was like,
No, these are I haven't thought about these questions in how old? Yeah, 20 years. I mean, in the winter, yeah, it happened a lot. It was you'd have school days because of the snow. You'd get a foot of snow overnight or whatever it was, and like, and you if the plows couldn't clear it in time, you kids couldn't get to school safely, so you'd have to have a snow day, or if you were in school and a storm was coming, you'd get out early.
they'd let you go.
Yeah, you'd let you go, so you get home safe, and the same with like the cold. If it got too cold, they would just have to. No, you can't go outside because it would be dangerous to get your
Yeah.
skin would be basically burnt by the cold and
Did you ever lick an ice pole or what is it like not
oh,
an ice pole but like a I
ice
don't know
ball,
if there's ice
metal.
poles. Oh man, I'm sound so
The ice
dumb.
ball. Uh,
But a metal
a metal
pole?
pole.
Yeah.
No, I never tried it because I mean you heard about it. There was that movie A Christmas Story,
Right.
right?
Uh-huh.
And I saw that. I go,
I'm not doing that.
just even if it could remotely happen, I don't want to be the kid. What Schwartz or whoever does it in the movie, like he licks the bowl. No, I don't need the.
Did you go bundled up to school like how they do in the movie?
I
Like
remember,
you have to put a lot of layers
yes,
on?
lots of layers, but also there was this thing. I don't know why. It was like an unsaid thing of like if you're a kid. And the older I got, I definitely lost it more. But when you're like in a kid and you're trying to be cool, and like in Wisconsin, like it's almost a badge of honor to be able to handle the cold and the snow, and like you take pride in your driving in the weather. You know what I mean, and that kind of thing. So like I remember going to the bus stop, and like my mom was like, "Wear your hat or your earmuffs and your gloves and your scarf," and I'd be like, "Nah, it's cool." I just go in a jacket and like I don't know. There was a thing as a boy at least where like you like it was a tough thing to not have to dress up too much. But now I'm the first one to put on layers
Like
and
screw
scarves
that.
and yeah, no, not now.
Yeah, it's part it's so we are talking earlier about the I have plantar fasciitis and I have that split bone.
Hmm.
But another thing, another condition that I have now as an old ass man, I will call myself old, even though both you and I are the same age, is fibromyalgia. And so fibromyalgia, man, sucks bad. And one of the things that I noticed for me personally is that when it's cold, it flares up
Really?
bad. And so I always got to wear a jacket. I always have to wear layers,
Yeah.
right? I have these gloves that I wear sometimes, uh, tan brown leather gloves. And my brother's like, "Hey, you gonna wear your gardening gloves?" I'm like, "Dude, they're not fucking gardening gloves. I just like the color, you
Yeah.
know." But I'm always covered up. I always have to have something extra because if not, if fibromyalgia flares up, and what it is, it's basically inflammation in the body, and then it flares up um, like my nerve endings. My nerve endings are always they're always in pain. And so what helps me is the heat. So I would literally, you know, in my underwear, sit in my backyard, like in my underwear, just like baking because I need that heat. And then I feel the pain go away.
Hmm.
So I die in Wisconsin, man. I could not live in Wisconsin the way you're describing it.
No, I mean, I think about it and I go, God, I made it so long, and
How long were you there for?
I lived there until I finished college, so I would have been 20, 22, I guess. Yeah, I left January of 2007. So yeah, and 22, 23. I could never go back. I could never go back. And like even out like when it gets cold, like whether you're in the snow, you're outside, or you get stuck someplace, your car breaks down, you got to change your tire, and it's the dead of winter. And like even if you have gloves on, if they get wet, like I've gotten frostbite before, and you never lose that. Like when your my toes, my arms, fingers, especially, like if it gets cold here, like it hurts. It's not. I don't have fibromyalgia like you said, but that frostbite and like
Yeah.
that pain never goes away after you get frostbite. Like so, feet and hands are the big one. You know, tips of my ears, things that have gotten frozen just from living in Wisconsin. Yeah, nuts.
What did you go to college for? Like, what did you study?
I studied and got my degree in business administration, which is a whole story we could go into about why I did that instead of music. So business administration, and I get minored in Spanish as well because I always
Habla
wanted
español?
to. Sí, papi.
Oh, mira nomás.
uh, I always wanted to learn another language because it helped. I thought it was fascinating to just learn the process and like how other people process words, and just like reading music is a language to me, and it helped me with reading music, just thinking about things in a different way and how to communicate. So it was fascinating, and the cultural aspects that you learn about. So but the business, I used my degree more than I could have ever used a music degree. Not that I didn't study privately, and I learned how to read music, and I studied privately with professionals, drummers, and you know anybody I could soak up the knowledge from. But as far as a degree, in a business administration degree, taught me how to do critical thinking. I had to take sociology classes, psychology classes, sociology, or philosophy classes rather, hard math classes, calculus, which at the time I'm like, I'm never gonna use calculus ever again. But it was the process of like doing those late night study sessions of like, I have a test tomorrow, I have to learn this stuff, I have to like, you just try to absorb it, and it's that pressure, and that translated into now like that process of learning in intense situations where I can learn 20 or 25 songs overnight because you've just learned to focus and you learn how to process and you have a system set up, and then you can go perform under those kinds of circumstances. So to me, it translated wonderfully, and it was through kind of the guidance of my dad, who was a musician. And yeah, it wasn't so much did I like school? No, not really. I always wanted to just move out to LA as quick as I could and start playing music, you know. But I'm glad I did it because of it was the process and the real life lessons that I learned and situations I was put in.
Did your parents make you go to college? Like either you go to college or you get a job, or was there ever that type of pressure, or it was like something that came from you?
No, I mean, I'm sure they wanted me to, but there was never any pressure. I think they would have let me do whatever I wanted. If I wanted to leave home at 18 and move out here and take that kind of a risk, they probably would have not been 100% behind it, but I know they would have been
Supportive?
supportive of that. I was always, I kind of knew what I needed to do. Graduate high school, go to college. At the time it was get married, buy a house, make money, save, but even like when I first moved here, I went to Edward Jones over in Burbank, and I go, I got to get a retirement set up. I got to start putting money aside. Like, I've just always had that old soul mentality. Definitely
That's
my whole life.
that's what it sounds like because um I mean, you don't see a lot of kids, and I see kids like being 18, 17, 18 years old thinking, I'm going to use this business administration. I'm going to get business administration. I'm going to get Spanish, but on the side, I'm still going to study my passion. It sounds like you were like hyper focused.
It was hyper focused about my
Growth.
growth and goal of being able to play these for a living. And again, I saw so many mistakes that people made around me, and like, and whether my dad was telling me about them or the musicians I saw or you name it, like it was being in the real world from a really young age. I mean, I was out in clubs and going to see live music and just being around everybody older than me, and I started playing at a really young age. So I saw a lot of mistakes that people made and things that I didn't want to do, and that might come off bad saying I seen other people's mistakes, but I learned what not to do most importantly. And so I had a pretty strong vision and my goals set in place as far as what I wanted to do. And it's a hustle every day. I mean, you talk to any artist in general who are trying to, be competitive in cities like Los Angeles or New York or wherever you are. And so I just always knew it was, I tried to take a little piece and learn something from every situation that I was in, including school. And like you see some musicians, and I mean, there are some amazingly talented, I mean, astounding creatives that write songs or draw pictures or create whatever art they're doing, write a book, and from a young age, and they don't need to have what I went through. But for me, I realized that I had to work harder than most people did to accomplish my goals, and I was fine with that. So
That's interesting to have that mindset,
yeah,
which is an amazing mindset,
for me
so
it works. It was just that's what made sense for me, and then I don't know. I've always some people find the way to do things in an easy way, and like just life comes easier to them, as far as like work or their profession. And for me, it's always been, I don't know, maybe it's I like working hard for it. Maybe I feel like there's more of an end. My goal at the end of it is feels better to have that reward of putting in that effort where other people can do it without so much effort. Does that make sense?
it does.
I don't
It
know.
does.
I don't know.
Yeah. So, see, the thing is, like, I always had an easy time um, grasping things, right? So, just like if we're talking about high school, excuse me, or even my career, like I could say high school and my career. So, obviously, I do finance. That's what I do for a
Hmm.
living, and so um, there's a lot of things that I could just I can absorb it super quick. And I've been in rooms, classrooms, or meetings and situations where I see people and it's just like it's not sinking in. It's not whether you explain it one way, you explain it another way. And part of it is it's not their fault. Part of it is their fault, but
Hmm.
part of it is we all don't have the same cognitive abilities. We all don't have the same way to retain information, receive information. Sometimes it's the way it's conveyed. Sometimes a person doesn't know how they can process the information quicker, meaning they haven't looked in and they're just blaming the teacher, right? Or they're just blaming the instructor. They're blaming others rather than figuring out, hey, this method doesn't work for me. Another method works for me better. And so for me, I did have it easy. One of my brothers says, man, we skated, we got by
Hmm.
on natural talent. Um, so you being that young and having the I think it's just the perspective or the being self-conscious and aware that you needed to work harder. Uh that's really dope, man. I got not only was it in school that I got by, but it was like with girls or with sports. I just had a way of getting by. Imagine if I would have had your thought process. Like, how much more could I have done? Now that I reflect, I'm like,
Right.
fuck, dude, I could have done so much more, but I also had a fucking
Great
amazing
time.
time.
Right. Right.
Yeah. When's the first time you played drums? Like, when did you find that that was your passion and love so that later in life you could still think, like, man, I have a passion for this, but I also got to work harder on this other aspect of life as well?
Yeah. I mean, as far back as I can remember, like again, I was always around music. There was always music playing in the house. There were albums around. I was going to see bands when I was, I mean, young,
First band
baby.
you remember seeing?
I mean, would have been whatever band my dad was in at the time. Would have
That you remember seeing. What's the first band you remember? It's your first memory.
well, like a known band.
And
I mean, it would yeah. Well, this would have been one of my dad's band at the time. Would have been a band called Red Light Fright. But as far as like a band that people would know or artists, my parents took me to see Bob Dylan at the Brown County Arena. And at the time, I remember thinking I didn't want to go at all. I was like, who is, I'd never heard of Bob Dylan. I was a young kid. And I'm like, I don't want to go see that. I don't know who that is. And I remember my dad going, you'll thank me one day for taking you to see Bob Dylan. And I was like, whatever. And we went, and it was a good show. I remember the drummer had a green drum kit, and green's my favorite color, so I remember that. And I remember hearing the songs and being like, oh, I've actually heard some of these, even at that age. Like Bob Dylan wrote so many songs, and so many artists had covered his songs that you can't help but know most of the songs at one of his concerts. And so that's the first vivid memory I have of actually going to see a concert, other than like a bar band down the street or whatever. Yeah, but
so your dad loves music.
he's passed away. But yeah, he loved music. He's that's the reason I'm doing it. Just being around it. But as far as he wanted me to be a guitar player, mom told me to be a singer, so I didn't have to carry gear. But I definitely picked the instrument with the most equipment that I have to haul around and the most stuff. Obviously, we're surrounded by
Yeah,
lots of
we are.
stuff.
It's beautiful in here, man. I
Thank you.
was I mean, I was amazed when you started showing me everything. Like I said, I don't want to say too much, when I walked in, but the tapestries here in the back are I had to touch them. So, it's they match my little trinkets here.
Your tchotchkes, that's what we call them in Wisconsin.
Chatskis?
Tchotchkes. Yeah, I
Tchotchkes.
think it's like a Polish term. There's lots of Polish culture. So tchotchkes.
My
Yeah,
tchotchkes.
so you got real nice tchotchkes
Yeah, real
right
nice
over there.
tchotchkes over there. Yeah. It's really cool, man. I enjoy a lot of vintage stuff. So like some of the brown drums, like the brown, uh, I gravitate to immediately. Um, but obviously, there's just so much in here. We'll get some shots of it. Um, and your dad wanted you to be a guitarist, so he'd be upset that you have all these drums and no guitars in here.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, no, I mean, he's it was kind of all half kidding. I mean,
Yeah, of
they wanted
course.
me. It's being a musician or an
He bought you your
artist.
first drum kit? I'm sorry, but
Yeah, they
yeah.
did. Yeah, a little Toys R Us drum kit that it lasted maybe 2 days. I went through it.
Yeah.
I quickly graduated to the next level of drum set, and like, yeah, now we're surrounded by 40 drum kits. But it would always, it's just always something I was happy, and that's, and sometimes I focused on sports, and it's funny you say like how you kind of skated through things, if you would have focused on it more, but it comes around to the happiness at the time, and um, I just did what I felt like doing, whatever inspired me or motivated me. I didn't force myself to practice. I wasn't the kid that practiced every day for 4 hours a day, and my parents didn't make me sit behind the drum kit and like, it wasn't that kind of a thing. It was just a very natural, organic thing, and I wouldn't pick up drumsticks for a long time if I was into baseball, which I was for many years, and or football or rugby or whatever sport I was into. The drums would take a back seat. I was always playing them in some aspect, and it's funny you say like, what if you would have focused on specific things while you were younger instead of having like fun or just being free? And I go, well, oh man, I see some drummers now, especially with social media and TikTok and Instagram. I go, these young kids, I mean, I just see their level. Like you can see it sometimes. You're like, oh my God, they're doing this at this age. That's insane. And the amount of work it takes to get to that. Like not everybody's, as far as like you have natural ability for sure. But I'm like, wow, they're doing that. They had to study that brush technique to do that. And they're like 20 years old. I go, their passion for drumming is beyond my passion, what it was. And I go, man, I wish I had that. But then I go, no, I would have, I would have missed and not as much fun. And I don't think, maybe what if I would have stifled that love for drumming because it was too much. And so, I mean, I have that same thing. I go, if I really would have practiced and dedicated myself to my instrument like they are, I mean, immediately I'm pretty good at what I do. Um,
Supposedly.
supposedly, to be determined. I'll do the drum solo at the end here, the 20-minute drum
Yeah.
solo. No, and I go, oh wow, and I go, well, no, because I follow my passion. Even now, like we were talking about me working on my double bass chops with the legs and building up the speed and the coordination, and uh, there's a whole story why I'm doing it now versus before, but it has to do with like because I wasn't into it so much, and now that's something I'm enjoying learning and pursuing, and it's a struggle. Like anytime you have to learn a new part of anything you're doing, a new aspect of your love or career, it's work. It's not necessarily most fun, but again, just follow the passion, the love, and that's how I've led my life so far.
Um, and I agree with you. So part of what we were talking about earlier again is like the painting stuff, right?
Yeah.
And so I didn't want my paintings to be work. I just found that I have a passion for it. I found that I'm pretty good at it or
Hmm.
whatever. And I did not want to get commissioned and then have that pressure of delivering a painting or have that pressure of delivering something of things that I did not want to paint. So the things that I paint, like 99.99% of them are things I enjoy. Comics, Batman, the Joker, um, just things that I enjoy rather than someone saying, hey, I'll pay you to paint something for me, but it doesn't come from me. I'm not enjoying it. I'm just painting it because I'm getting paid. And so I think looking back at one of the things I passed up on was playing for the U.S. national soccer team. And I do think, like, man, how different would my life would have been if I followed that path?
Right.
But then I wouldn't be the man I am today. I wouldn't have what I have, the experiences that I went through, everything that happened, after making the choice not to do that. I don't regret anything. I don't regret having skated and passing up on it. My number one distraction was girls. Like, at that time, I was a boy that just like girls, like squirrel, like girls, squirrel, girls. And so I was super distracted by it. I would super distracted by that. but I don't regret it because now I have this beautiful life, and being a professional soccer player and just living the life that I live now, I'm happy. So, what's brushing, by the way? Because you said brushing. You said
Oh,
these
right,
kids do
yeah.
brushing.
Sometimes I whip out weird
Brush.
music terms. No, they're I don't have any nearby or get them, but they're basically a stick, but it has a fan on the end, like not a paintbrush because they're usually wire,
Uh-huh.
but it's a softer touch thing. So you'll probably seen it if you've seen a jazz band play. That might be a common place to see brushes in like a musical setting. But yeah, I mean, it's these are all traits that you learn, but like there's next levels to everything, you know. The it's the endless pursuit of mastering your art or your instrument in this case. So that's one specific part of it is learning how to do brushes because there's a technique and a way to do it, and there's patterns that you learn and a touch and a finesse that you need to have, and that's I mean, I love that. I dove in and done it? Yeah, but
And seriously, it just sounds like brushing, but then the way you're explaining it's like very like specific.
yeah, I mean, I love the archaic caveman nature of grabbing sticks and hitting things as hard as I can and making them. I love expressing it and making them sound huge and big. Like I don't know, I'm so turned on by that that I can't even explain it. It's the same thing of like sexual attraction between two people. Uh, it's that same. Oh yeah, I love this. I love getting this feeling. I mean, and admittedly, being on stage in front of people, whatever number of people, and like that energy and feeling it around you and attention, right? And everything that you like by being a performer. Uh, there's nothing better than that feeling. Or being in the studio and in that moment and something amazing is created that is, will last forever. Like there's no better high than that. There's just not. There's, for me, like no drug, no uh, relationship, sexual reaction, food can match that feeling.
That's amazing, man. Were you ever in marching band?
I was in marching band, yeah.
Did you have that same feeling when you were marching down the street or no?
It was, I mean, not that level of excitement, but it was still fun to be part of that unit. And with marching band, it's about unity and coordinated effort. And so that was a cool thing of Matt, like I was either playing quad drums, which like basically you wear harness and there's four drums around you. Yeah, yeah, those guys.
Yes, I was in marching band.
That was a okay. So now everybody else knows what quad drums are. Or
They're dope.
yeah,
I like the way they sound.
I love them too.
Yeah.
So that was my first drum in marching band when I was a freshman in high school. Um, and but the snare line where those are the best kids and usually the upperclassmen. So it wasn't that I didn't love playing quads, but I was like, no, I was. This is gonna sound like an asshole thing, but I was like, I'm better than all of them already. Just because I'm a freshman, I don't get to be on the snare line. I proved that I could be quickly. So by sophomore year, I was snare line, which I was especially uh, proud of that accomplishment. But marching and like you learn to move your legs, listening and working together. Marching in parades was fun, like in the Christmas parade, or like we performed at the Orange Bowl in Miami. That was like my first trip. You took a bus down and you performed at a big nationally televised parade, which was cool.
How long's that trip?
And a bus on the buses we had to
Like
take.
2 days?
It was 2 days. Felt like it, and like
With all these
nonstop.
other
We
kids?
slept on the floor of the bus.
Oh wow.
Yeah, that's where I kind of had my first, what turned into my first wife.
Oh really?
On that band trip is where the romance blossomed, which is a whole nother story. But yeah, marching band and like the kind of there's something called drum corps. Do you know what that is? Where like it's
Mhm.
next level. Like they compete. Like it's there's certain they go to very specialized schooler courses and you learn to be next level marching basically. It's like when you see
Like drumline, like Nick
Drumline,
Cannon?
yes, like that. That's
Okay.
basically that's it. So it's the next level of specific thing that you're learning in that world, marching world. As I don't know how to explain it to the regular listener, but yeah,
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, there was a lot of ladies in marching band, or a lot of ladies
yeah,
in band,
yeah,
and but those weren't the ladies that I was after. It was like the ladies in the color guard or the flag thingy majiggy, whatever the hell they were
yeah, yeah,
doing, like in front of
yeah,
us and stuff.
yeah.
And usually those were older girls, right? So I think I was in sixth grade when I was in marching band, and it's like, oh man. And then we used to go into the equipment room, right? So where all the like this, but obviously there was like all the instruments and stuff, and so I would see a lot of the older kids making out with the girls. I'm like, oh man, this is cool. Um, and the cool kids were the ones that were the drummers.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
yeah.
I remember this guy had this similar hair like yours. His name was Martin. He got all the ladies, man. I can't do the same anymore with this haircut. That's what I told you the first day I met you. I was like, man, Zach, the guy with the cool hair. So yeah, definitely the cool hair, man. So it was fun, man. I try to do the piano. I try to do piano, which like I'm like, this is just it's boring. I couldn't get into it. But I played the saxophone. So saxophone, alto sax, tenor sax. I played in jazz band. I played in marching band.
Oh, that's great. I didn't know that about
Yeah,
you.
it was learn how to read music, learn how to read the because it's funny because when you watch something on TV and you can see the guy like doing all this shit and it's like, dude, you're not doing shit. But someone who knows, you know what they're doing, you know
Yeah,
what they're counting,
yep,
right? You know what they're instructing. You know the order that they're keeping for, and then they'll go to this side and okay, you come in or bring up the noise,
yeah.
right? Uh, the guys that sit at what's that one drum that's like the big drum, like
Timpani.
timpani?
Hmm.
Okay, that one. Yeah, I remember his name was Miss or is or was I don't know, but it was Mr. Betker, and he would just like come on, like come in,
Yeah,
So when I see classical music or any type of music, it's amazing to me because I know the effort that goes into it to learn your instrument, to learn your craft, to know when to come in, to be a part of a group,
hmm,
right? Because
yeah,
it's like, hey, it's not your time to shine. It's the layers that make the music. It's not just the individual notes. And part of it, when you actually listen to it on headphones, there's a huge difference between listening to something in the car or listening to it on speakers. But when you have headphones in, you can there's so much you can hear.
so
If
much detail. Yeah,
so much detail. Different instruments going at different beats, different counts. Sometimes it's just like a single note or like something high pitched,
mm.
and I listen for all that, which I love and appreciate. So kudos to you, man, for actually making a career out of it, man. It's your passion and um, it's awesome. I fucking appreciate it and love it. So it's so fucking dope.
Cool.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
So
Good.
you graduate at 22,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
And then you said I'm California bound or
Yeah.
what?
No, it
What?
was the plan, man. I sold a car. I had been saving up.
You were working at the time and going to school too?
Yeah, I was always. I mean, I started playing more and more, so I got made a pretty good income from playing music from
Mm.
wherever I was. Wisconsin. That's a lot of cover bands and like Thursday through Sunday kind of work where you're playing in whatever the city festival is or club down the street.
How would you get those gigs though? Like there was no Instagram.
Yeah, no, it was very hard. It was just going out. You just had to go out,
You had to try out?
just meet people,
Okay.
and referrals, and like, it was all about somebody knowing that you could play drums and that you could play these kinds of songs and like you would meet through other friends. Yeah, it was just that network was so much more important at that time. And when I first moved to LA, Instagram wasn't even a thing yet. Like Facebook was around, but that wasn't like that wasn't a place where people would go meet each other as far as musicians. So when I moved here, it was Craigslist. jump on Craigslist and just I auditioned for, I mean, hundreds of bands. Would just learn the music, go show up, meet them. Maybe it would work, maybe it wouldn't work, and eventually those paths led to, what got me started playing music here. It was the same thing. So I mean, now I'm overwhelmed by the level of talent and competition that pops up on social media, and like it's a whole thing now. Like to be a social media musician, like you can make a career doing that, whether it's TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. Like people make careers playing that. Uh, and I don't have I set up cameras before in here and done the whole thing and recorded songs or like done things and like and you mentioned like going live. It's just not, again, it's not where my passion is and my drive is. Like I don't feed off of that kind of attention. I mean, everybody likes to see that they get likes and comments on their posts. Like that's just a, I mean, you would be weird if you didn't. But it was a different thing of like just going out and talking to people and meeting people, and that's still where I find the best connections. You know,
In the gut
versus
to gut.
what's that?
In the gut to gut.
Yeah, yeah. It's not that you can't be a social media phenom or star and get a gig. Lots of drummers will take specifically get gigs because they'll do a cover of a certain song and somehow that gets to a manager who manages a specific band. There they are. They're playing with this massive band, versus me who was in the streets and the gutters duking it out and juking and trying to get my way around and talk to the right people. But to each their own, that's
It's different paths.
different paths.
Yeah, different paths. I look at those videos where like the little kids are playing
Yeah.
the drums. I'm like, dude, this is fucking crazy.
Yeah.
And then the other ones when I see like female drummers, right? There's just something about a girl chick playing the fucking drums that I'm just like amazed, like at their talent. Um, it's both of those are like awesome to me. And then the other part is, when I see like heavy metal bands,
Mhm.
right? And it's just like huge drum sets we were talking about earlier. Like, now you can minimize a lot of the equipment that you use,
Yeah, right.
but obviously not
Not
this,
drums.
not
Yeah.
drums. And where they have you seen those? Well, I'm sure you have, where they're rotating and
Hmm.
they're playing the drums and they're just like, on stage. But I think it's to each their own. And I consider myself a person that I think we all judge. I just admit that I judge. I'm like, oh, yeah, I fucking judge all the time. Doesn't mean I'm right, though, right? Doesn't mean that my opinion's correct. Doesn't mean that it's my own personal opinion. That's how I feel about it. But they're allowed to be happy in whatever way makes them happy, whether it's politics, religion, music, whatever it is. Like, it doesn't bother me. Like, find your success, find your happiness.
Yeah.
Um, but the gut to gut part and engaging with people rather than the social media part. I saw you got your GoPro right there, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So you have recorded, but you just don't go live then.
No, I mean, I haven't, that battery is dead. I haven't used that in a long time because, again, my life is, I mean, I don't even get to practice that much anymore. Like, I really cherish those moments when I can just come out here, put on whatever songs I want to play to and whatever I'm into at the moment, and just practice for a couple hours and just, that to me, sweat and like really get into it. I think that's rad. I don't have time for it because when you have to make a living out of it, I mean, it is a job, so I'm focused on that. So if I'm not in a rehearsal, or if I'm not having to learn songs with somebody, which means like charting out the music and then like, kind of listening to it and then going to whatever the gig is or getting ready to go tour someplace. So you got to prep gear or all that, or actually just out playing. Like there's just not a time for all that. So I just don't have the bandwidth to record it, mix it, edit it down with the video and the audio. For me, like I'm not gonna. Everybody's always like, "Hey Zach, just put your phone out and record yourself playing." I go, I mean that's okay, but I pride myself on how good these sound and how good I can make them sound, and like, so for me, I'm like, just yeah, I'd rather not. I'd rather people just maybe wonder what it sounds like and just see pictures or whatever versus me putting it out there. Like there's people that make full livings and careers by doing that. For me, I like to be out in the real world.
It's yeah, I agree with you because I've been told so I mess around on TikTok, right? I
Hmm.
dance.
Hmm.
And some people have asked me, well, hey, how come you don't, let's say, use this camera, right, to record your
No.
videos? Why don't you set up your lighting and, go record on the boardwalk in Santa Monica or record certain places? I'm like, ah, fuck, why? I'm like, I listen to a song, I'm at home, set my phone down, hit
In
record
the moment.
in the moment, upload, go about my day. I don't live in social media, right? I feel. Have you ever seen that movie, Ready Player One?
Hmm.
I,
Yeah.
I love that
I
movie.
love that movie too. A sleeper movie. I didn't think I was gonna like it going into it, and it's one of my favorite movies, man. It's a great
Yes,
flick.
it's an amazing movie, and I think more than anything, it's like the thought of you living. You're trying to disconnect from the real world. That's what people are doing in that movie. They're living in this space
Yeah.
rather than living in the real world. And so sometimes I feel like social media is that,
Yeah.
where that's where people live. They think sometimes the world is worse than it is because that's what's on your feed. And I've said this before. Um, you and we met, complete stranger, said hi to you, we chopped it up.
Yeah.
Um, Super nice guy. I'm like, man, this guy's really cool. And that's the most amount, like most of the interactions I have in the real world are like that. People are nice, genuine, kind. I do run into assholes, obviously they exist. Um, but the real world is better than social media. But it's the same thing that you're saying. Like I don't want to bust out all this equipment for something that brings no value to me. When we record the podcast, yes. When I have to do educational videos for my clients, 100%.
Sure.
Charity work, totally. But for me, dancing, because I went viral dancing, now I should fucking like bust out my professional camera so I can really, really try. No, if it goes viral, thumbs up. If it doesn't, like, whoever's on my social media could just see it, and it's
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah.
Um, so again, you came out here when you were 22, man, on your own, right? Like,
With my soon-to-be fiance at the time. Yeah, we
okay,
moved out here together. Yeah.
and she just followed you, like came and or she had dreams to come to California as well.
We had. I mean,
Dreams together to come to California.
it was. She was going to school and graduated as a music therapist. And music therapy was sort of a newer thing at the time. And in the bigger cities, there was just more. There were more companies. It was more known. There was more places where she could do her job. And LA had one of the bigger opportunities for her. So it was also a move that helped her career and her goals. At least at the time, that's what I thought it was. So we made a decision, moved right here together. It's kind of the same thing. Drove cross country and each. Well, we flew out here first, solidified her gig. She got a gig. She got not audition. She you know went to a few places and had her job interview and landed in a good spot and then it was my turn when we came out here and then I figured my stuff out. So that was the process. Still scary. We didn't know anybody out here. I mean, nobody. So I'm always proud of that two people can move across the country. Whenever I see anybody move to LA in particular, they fresh off the boat, so to speak, I go, well, that's, man, good for you. It's not knowing anybody, it's expensive, kind of a dangerous city, in some places if you
What
don't
area
know.
did you move to when you first came out here?
I
What
found
city?
a spot in Van Nuys.
Okay,
I live
the
in Van
Valley.
Nuys, in the valley. I've always been a valley boy, yeah. And then
Yeah, we
I'm,
are in the Valley, kind
yeah,
of.
we're
Yeah,
valley, yeah. Burbank is valley, yeah.
Valley
It's
adjacent is
valley
what you call
adjacent. Yeah, well, I
it.
call where we are Burbank adjacent because this
Burbank
is
adjacent.
Sun
Yeah.
Valley is, yeah, we're right by the airport here. I moved to Glendale for about 6 months, and then again, that kind of Wisconsin mentality, maybe Midwest mentality is go to school, graduate college, get married, buy a house, have 2.5 kids, work until you're 65, retire, and then live the retired life. Uh, and as much as that is not at all my path, there were certain things I was like, this seems to be the right decisions, like we talked about. I kind of had a plan. I wanted to own a home. It was a big thing. I wanted to plan for my future, so I was been into investing and all the weird adult boring things. I'm stoked on getting a good vacuum these days. That I'm like, I don't know, all the weird adult things that come up. Just got a new air fryer, which was rad. I don't know.
Have you ever made a turkey in an air fryer?
I have deep fried a turkey
Yeah,
where
so
you.
so they actually have air fryers now that you can air fry a whole turkey.
Wow, that's a big air fryer.
Yeah, I have one.
Do you have a?
hmm
Wow.
Yeah,
So you
it's
get it.
yeah, dude, I totally get it. I was cleaning out my garage the other day, and this is like 2 days ago, and I see this like contraption, and I'm like, "The hell is this?" And I asked my mom because she had come over, took her to lunch. I'm like, "Mom, what is this?" And she goes, "Oh, that's an air fryer I bought you." I'm like, "This is an air fryer?" It's like, it's like a big thing. It's a rectangular versus like, uh, vertical. And I'm like, "Oh, I gotta start using that one now." But yeah, it's the one that I have. It's an air fryer. Obviously, it's about yay high.
Oh, okay. That's a decent
Yeah,
sized one.
yeah. And so you just put the turkey in the basket and turn it on and air
I
fry
love
the.
that.
Yeah, dude. So deep frying a turkey is better than air frying, but air frying is better than baking. In the oven. Um, so
Are you a cook? Are you chef?
yeah, I
Love to
cook.
cook?
I don't see the problem is I eat while I'm fucking cooking. So by the time I'm done cooking, I'm like I'm full,
Full, yeah.
and then you got to clean up. So I know how to cook. I can cook really, really good food. I can just look in the pantry or pull something out, and I could always make something really good. But I just hate the process of it. I just want to eat.
Yeah.
Like it takes 2 hours to cook.
It's a thing.
It's a
And if
thing.
you don't have a passion for it, it's hard to do it unless you're really into it.
Yeah, some people obviously, when you feed someone, it's a good thing. It comes from the heart. My mom loves to cook for people. She wants people to try her food. But for me, I'm like, dude, I just want to eat. I don't want to eat an hour later. I'm just gonna go through a drive-through or something like that.
Right.
So usually I eat out. But there are times that I do cook. You know how to cook good?
Yeah, I'm not I can't cook everything, but I do enjoy the process. But I lean towards you where I'm like, oh man, it's just I'd rather not do this tonight. So there's certain things that I know I can cook and don't take a lot of time. Like I have my favorite foods.
What's your favorite?
Spaghetti and meatballs.
Really?
100%. Nobody makes it better than me. My spaghetti and
All right.
meatballs is
Next time,
world
I'm
famous.
gonna
Well,
have
I'll
to
make you
try it.
spaghetti and meatballs. But it's kind of the same thing. While I'm cooking, I'm eating the meatballs and the
Yes.
sauce, and then I go, and the bread, I'm like, and cheese. Like usually I'll have some wine and like fancy cheese. I'll be eating it. I'm like, well, I'm full, and then I overeat, and then it's a whole thing of like that.
And then you have to clean up, and you have to wash the
Clean up and
dishes.
dishes, and I'm
You're
super
neat.
I'm neat, so I'm like I can't relax until the kitchen is back to its pristine state. Luckily, though, it's the same thing like getting back to the opposites attract topic. Kim loves to cook. Loves it like she relaxes her. She likes the process. She loves people like your mom tasting her food and Kim doesn't really follow a cookbook, so every time it's a little bit different. So even she doesn't know how it's going to come out. So that's fun. Like we eat at home 4 or 5 nights a week, most meals. We still love to go out. We love food in general, obviously, right? And like it's fun, and I love going out and trying different foods. But I mean, these days with inflation, man, you can't go out with two people and have a meal for less than $200, especially if you have a drink. I mean, unless you eat fast food, which even then, we went to Burger King the other month, a couple, maybe 4 or 5 weeks ago. It was like $40 for just two of us to eat at Burger King. I'm like, when did this happen? Oh my God. Not that I do very well for a living, but we're comfortable. And I'm like, what about people who have a family of six they got to feed and, they're a blue collar job and they're having to pay this much for food? Holy shit.
Have
What?
you ever do you go to the movies often or not really?
Okay, let me preface this with I used to go to a movie at least once a week, like go to the movie theater. Um, Life got busy, so now it's like, and I got older, so my idea of relaxing is sitting on my couch and uh, having some edible and having some wine and watching. But movies are it's my inspiration, my muse. I have seen more muse, or more movies than
More
more movies than most human beings. A couple a night at least. Yeah, I love movies.
Do you
Love
have a
them.
favorite movie?
Oh, it's like asking my favorite song or band.
Oh, I'm gonna ask that next. So start thinking about it.
Uh, it depends on what I can
Top,
remember.
like one of the top movies. Let's say
Okay,
it's not your favorite, but just one of
all
the
right.
top
I'll go through
movies.
tops in no specific order, and part of this is nostalgic. Jurassic Park,
Okay.
probably number one. Um,
Droppings? The dinosaur droppings?
Dinosaur Dropping. Yeah, no. I can quote almost the whole movie if I
I
watch it.
cannot quote shit, so
No, we're not. I'm
that's
not.
all I
That's good.
can.
I loved Independence Day. I love science fiction, obviously. So Independence Day. I love action war. So Saving Private Ryan with
That's a
Tom
good
Hanks.
one.
Um, One of my new favorites is called Long Shot. It's a comedy with Charlize Theron and Seth Rogen. What super well done, hilarious. Long shot. I mean, so that's
Is she were the ones where she gets pregnant or something?
no. She is a congresswoman, kind of running to be president. It's kind of like that, but she brings on Seth Rogen to be her
Writer?
writer.
Okay, I've seen it.
Love that movie. And I mean, God, I see so many movies. I'm overwhelmed by
What about Indiana Jones?
love Indiana Jones.
You have a
Yeah,
satchel for Indiana Jones. I
I
mean, you
do.
gotta.
I I've liked every single movie, the new ones, the old ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, love Indiana Jones. Like action adventure. I love yeah, sci-fi. I love scary movies. A great scary movie. There's nothing like sitting down and really getting freaked out. Like I love that. So I'm always on the search for the next scary movie. There's one called Thanksgiving that just got released that I haven't seen yet, but I'm excited about. So yeah, I have friends that talk movie, jargon with me, which I get into. But poor Kim, she's a reader. I used to be a reader, but now I am not at all. And so Kim she's had more access to more movies than she's ever seen. Like 1 month with me, has watched more movies than she has in her entire life, hands down. That's the level.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, that's why we could be friends because I love movies, and the reason I was asking that question was because again, how expensive Burger King is.
Yeah.
But imagine a family taking their kids to go watch a movie, right? Like the cost. It's super
Super
expensive.
expensive.
Super expensive, especially if you're taking them out on a Friday night
Yeah.
or something like that.
Yeah.
And it's a new release, and then they want popcorn, soda, things of that nature. You're spending, I mean, I would imagine, again, I don't have kids, so, but if you're buying tickets, it's $100 plus that you're gonna drop just to go to the movies. Um, so I'm a board member of a real estate group, and they're focused on community education, charitable work, bringing people together. And one of the things that people do not see, um, meaning our audience, is the struggle that we have with the budget, right?
Hmm.
So we're a nonprofit, but it's expensive for breakfast. And so I've been pushing, and I know that if they watch it, they're not going to like it. But I've been pushing for prices to go up,
Hmm.
right? So it went from $3 to $5 to $8. And it's a full breakfast, right? So you have your eggs, your bacon, your potatoes, salsas, biscuits sometimes. It's like a full-on breakfast.
Right.
And one of the conversations that we have back and forth is I tell them, look, I can't even go get a coffee for $8, let alone a full breakfast, including coffee, including water, including the guest speaker, right? The guest speaker that we're having in 2 weeks, I mean, this guy runs a I would say, well, 100% a multi-million dollar company, but it's probably $1 billion company. He's a huge builder out in the Inland Empire.
Hmm.
And so it's tough for families, man. Like you said, how can someone go to dinner and buy something with the price of things?
Yeah, and it still hasn't translated into people's salaries and the money they're making. I mean, it goes for me too.
Yeah.
Like, and it's not like I have a set like wage. Like this is what I'm at. Like for the, I play for about 20 or 30 different artists during a given year. On average, and like those are each specific conversations of negotiating and setting rates, which nobody really likes doing that. For the most part, I'm sure there are exceptions where people love to negotiate, but I'm not one of them. That's for sure. And it's like, okay, well, I have to get this much money to feel good about what I'm doing, and that hasn't translated in the normal 9 to 5 jobs of my friends that I talk to. So like everybody's having to pay more, um,
And
and
receive the same.
it's like, oh wow. So it's a really difficult time out there for sure. Like one of our fun things and escapes, we have a annual pass. We do the California resident pass at Disneyland. So on a whatever Tuesday afternoon, if I'm done with whatever gig I have and Kim's free, we'll jump in the car, we'll drive 30 minutes or 40 minutes down to Disneyland, and go hang out. And for us, it's annual passes for the whole year. It's $350 maybe, and you pay monthly, so it's affordable for us. But we see families that fly in from, I don't know, Kansas,
Dude.
3 kids having to stay at a hotel, paying, I don't know even what a ticket is for, to do the park hopper to go to California Adventure and Disneyland, but it's got to be $150 a day, probably something like that in that ballpark, maybe more now. And it's like, wow, with the food for like a 3 or 4 day vacation, you're like, this family is dropping with plane tickets and rentals and lodging and food, 5 grand, 6 grand, easy.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, for just a regular family, like that's a trip of a lifetime. And I just see that as like,
It
it
sucks.
sucks, is
It
what I'm
sucks to
getting at.
see.
Yeah.
Yeah. It sucks because, like, again, my job allows me to see people's finances and I see everything. I see everything. And I see where you're swiping your card, man.
Yeah.
I see what you're buying. I see what you're spending. I see what you're making. Um, Unfortunately, sometimes people make bad choices and um, negligence, lack of education.
Hmm.
Um, I sometimes I go through the statements, and, someone's statements, and I'm like, dude, stop gambling. Stop gambling. You're telling me you don't have money, right? We're using a certain program where the state can provide you some type of assistance,
Hmm.
but like I'm seeing all the gambling that let's say, certain individual is doing.
Sure.
Taking all that away, like the negative things that people do to self-sabotage, incomes don't go up as much as inflation is going up. Obviously, right now inflation's coming down. The government raised rates last year, which was it was the biggest increase in interest rates in the shortest amount of time, right? Which is like a what we would call like a knee-jerk reaction,
Yeah.
and that's not the way to do things. I think that was poorly handled. I think it should have been a long time coming. I think it should have been done way before, gradually, getting people used to it. But
Yeah.
it was like a slap in the
Totally.
face, total slap in the face. And sometimes what sucks, like for my job, what I see is that either politicians or yeah, let's call it politicians. Sometimes they're making law, they're making changes that affect all of us, but in reality, they don't practice um, that specific field. For example, they're an attorney that got assigned to a position. It's like, dude, you have no idea how this is going to translate into like the day-to-day life for the guy that works at Walmart,
Right.
right? Because those are families, it's like the average family, right? Doesn't have more than, I think it's like $900 in savings, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. How can you save with the prices in California? You know, meaning rents. So rents are high, gas is high, inflation's high, but your income and wages aren't going up.
Yeah.
So it's difficult when I see that. And what I tell people, and my parents told me this, look, you're never going to get paid your worth at a job. You're just getting paid enough to be there.
Hmm.
Like, what's the bare minimum I could pay you just so you don't leave? So if you want to be successful, find something extra to do. Find something else to do, right? But like they say, like the side hustle,
Yeah.
for example. Except for me, my side hustle was I became really passionate about what I do, which is finance. And so I enjoy that. And then my distraction was like the painting, the music, the dancing, the tattoos, like all the other stuff just to allow my brain to relax because it's really consuming like my job, like on the way here I told you I was on the phone,
Hmm.
was talking with the client, and my job doesn't stop, just like probably your job is self-employed, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't stop. You have to pay the bills, and
Yeah.
so my clients are available on weekends, right? My clients are available in the evenings. My clients are available in the mornings, all times of the day. And it's not just clients, but then it's also the relationships that they have, like their realtors or people that are representing them in
Yeah.
different facets. And so it consumes a lot. And part of what I told my production partner a while back was, man, I'm not going to buy any more self development books. I need to buy books that are distractions. So I bought like Edgar Allan Poe, and I bought, Dante's Inferno, and I said I can't read anything more than like our job. I need a distraction to just take my mind somewhere else. It becomes overwhelming when you see those families that just can't make it.
Yeah.
It's tough to see that over and over and over and over and over and over.
Yeah.
So, but we live in California, right? We get
Yeah.
to go to the beach in the snow in the same day.
There are benefits. Yeah. I still, I mean, to all the issues, and the big one's probably homelessness right now, right, in the city. And
Do you
uh,
see a lot of homeless here? We're in this
not in this
area?
part of town, no.
Okay.
But driving around, especially when you get into Hollywood or downtown, it's like, wow, it's crazy, right? And that being said, I love it here. This is my favorite place that I would live. Both just access to the beach, the mountains, the cultures, the food, things to do, just activities. So I wouldn't live anyplace else, at least right now. There's no other place I'd be.
You've traveled a lot though,
Yeah, I
right?
love traveling. I love traveling.
You just like coming home.
Yeah, no, home's important. Having a space to come home to, and I love being here. And I'm proud to say I'm from LA. You know, um, not that I wasn't proud to live in Green Bay, but living here, like, because it takes a lot to make it here and to live here and to work here. Like, I think I don't care what you're doing, what level of income or the job. I think if you live here, it's something you've
Like a
earned, and
badge of
like,
honor.
yeah, it's a badge of honor to live in Los Angeles or surrounding cities. Like, yeah, I can do it. I've done it, and like, I don't know. I've seen so many friends and coworkers move away to whatever city's got cheaper rent, or that they're like Florida doesn't have income tax or whatever. I don't even know
Or
the
state
state
tax.
tax. So it's like, oh, well, cool. I would never live in Florida. It's not a place where I'm happy. So, but some people,
I mean, come on, man. You can wear your thong year round.
I,
So
well, I mean, I've got it on right now.
yeah, see, these are the sides of my thumb right here. I'm actually showing
The
mine.
Borat top to the
Exactly.
bottom.
Yeah, dude, Florida's cool. I like Florida, but nah, I don't think I'd live there, man. I don't think I'd live in Florida. I like California. Um, but since you have traveled, what are the top three places for you in your travels
Ooh,
that you've
good
enjoyed?
question. Also, it's not that I don't like Florida. I just couldn't live in Florida.
Yeah, of
For
course.
anybody
Yeah.
from Florida, uh,
See, let me say one thing.
yeah,
You know what's funny is that shooting these podcasts, people are so conscious of what the public might think, even though you and I understood what you meant.
yeah,
But sometimes people like want to clarify because the way sometimes people perceive things, it's not the way you want it or intended it to be.
yeah,
It just goes to their own fucking little head, and then they immediately assume something.
yeah,
And it's like, so it's funny to me because I'm also guilty of that too. Like, hey, that's not what I meant, or
It's just a learned trait because of it's. I mean, I've had
we're all fucking trying to be
situations where
careful.
like it's like, oh, I did
I didn't mean that.
just stream of thought. You know, we're just
Yeah,
talking, but now
yeah.
we're not.
It was just funny to me.
Yeah,
I recognize that. Like we're all, and I think not just even us, but we're all like a little bit conscious of like the end user, right? Even though we didn't intend that. Whatever it is that went through your own filter,
yeah,
that's not what I intended.
yeah.
But
And you hit on it earlier with a couple other things of like, I, the, these are my opinions, and I'm glad that other people have opinions because that's how I learn different perspectives of life, and I think it's okay to share that. And I'm going to tell you what I think and feel, and that's fine. Um, but you can tell me the same thing, but don't be angry at me, and I'm not going to be angry at you with it. Just, oh, okay, cool, there it is, lay it on the table, and maybe we can learn something from each other, depending on politics, religion, or world issue that you're talking about. So I think that's important. But anyway, favorite places to live
yeah, favorite
or
places
to
that you
travel
visited
besides Florida.
besides Florida.
London is up there,
Yeah, London.
and that almost sounds like cliche, but going there and the first time I went, it was November, December, kind of winter, and we definitely came during a good week because it wasn't raining the whole time. Like I think it only sprinkled once the whole time we were there. But I love the city. I love the people. We had amazing food, not just Indian food, like all sorts of food. Walking around the city, there was such a cool vibe. The architecture, again, the people. Just it was. I love London.
You were there for a week?
We were there for a week. Yeah, I'm going back for my birthday this year in February. We're going to go visit some friends in the middle of the UK in Oxfordshire, and then we're going to take the train, the channel to Paris for 2 days, and then we're going to spend the final 3 days in London again. We're going to visit some friends in London.
So, it sounds super dumb right now.
No.
No, I am. So, London is in England.
Mm-hmm.
Paris is in France.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not done.
No, that's good. But so there's
There's
a
a
body of water that separates them, and you can take there's basically a train, this high speed train that goes under the water called
huh.
the channel. I might be getting this wrong.
Someone
And
will
then you
correct us.
like you end up at the station just outside Paris, and then you go take a taxi or whatever into Paris.
That's cool.
Yeah. So it's one of those weird things. We have friends that are going to be in Paris coincidentally at the same time, and we have friends that are going to be in London coincidentally at the same time that live here or other parts around the world. So it's like not coordinated at all. We just realized that during that specific week, around February 23rd, it's my birthday.
Birthday.
Uh, yeah, we're gonna be hanging out there.
He wears a size extra medium if you guys want to send him another shirt. Extra medium, to be clear.
Shmedium.
Medium. So, London and Paris.
I will. This is my first time going to Paris. So London.
Oh, okay.
I'll let you know about Paris. It looks amazing.
Yeah.
Um, as far as a city, being in Greece was an amazing experience. The whole country. I went from Athens and worked my way all the way up to Thessaloniki with the band I was with. So we saw the whole country. The artist was basically from there, so we got to meet the people, all these small little towns and all these little mom and pop restaurants. And we lived in a little village in the middle of the mountains and got to meet the townspeople. And I mean, I don't speak Greek, and most people that we met don't speak English, so it was just fun to kind of be into it and be accepted as these weird Americans, and whatever perception they have of us. Uh, that all being said, the biggest city in the northern Greece is called Thessaloniki. That was amazing. Around the water, uh, again, culture, the people, the food, everything, the music that was around. I love the architecture, the fashion that we go shopping and find clothes, which is a passion of mine. And so that was in the top three. And then where I just got married, New Orleans, Louisiana, in the French Quarter, Rougarou. You can
Rougarou.
you can see the T-shirt, the
Yeah,
mythical
I gotta paint
swamp monster.
mythical swamp monster Rougarou.
Um, so yeah, the French Quarter in specifically in New Orleans would be in the top three as far as amazing places to go. Like you're in another world. It's a little different than it used to be when I first went there, but still a magical, cultural, just mecca of everything I love, which is food, fashion, culture, people,
And music.
and music.
I gotta go check all those three places out. Now, when you did those travels, was it because of your job, or was it just because you were, you know, feeling
I've been to Greece was just one trip for work, uh, but I've been to the UK a number of times and Europe a number of times. So that's been leisure and work. But New Orleans has mostly been just vacation or free time. So yeah, I first went there with some friends. We drove down from Nashville. I helped some friends move to their home in Nashville, and then we basically got the moving truck offloaded and then jumped in their little mini, and we drove from like 8 p.m. and got into New Orleans in the French Quarter around 3 a.m. or something like that. Got out of the car, got into our room, and then went to a bar and hung out, and it was magical. Like, because the streets were empty, and they were like the street, like the way they have the gas lights, so it's flame flickering. You walk down the streets, and like the architecture is like nothing else I'd ever seen. And you walk in, and the food is completely different. That people have a way about them and a speed and their language, and it was just like a different world. It was like being in a movie,
that's cool.
and I fell in love instantly with the city. And I've gone back at least once a year since then, and that's 10, 12 years ago now. Yeah, and recently just finally got married there. Yeah,
Yeah, congratulations on
thank you.
that. Um, it's
Sorry, girls.
yeah, and some dudes.
And some dudes. Yeah,
It's like I said,
yeah,
the ladies, and some dudes.
and some dudes.
Yeah. Um, it's uh it's interesting to see, and we were talking about it earlier, like the different cultures and things that happen in different areas. Um, the music, the food, and I think it's accepting our differences because we are a lot alike, right? We all have certain commonalities as human beings, but there are differences, and I appreciate someone's differences. It's not like I think sometimes, they all, so again, people who live on social media, it's like they want us all to be the same. It's like, no, we are different.
Yeah.
We are different. And that's the cool thing about it. We all don't have to be the same. And so when you go somewhere else, um, part of what I like to go to is really quiet, desolate places. And I like sleepy little towns.
Hmm.
So here, I like up above Santa Barbara, there's a town called Del Amo, and there's a single street that goes through it, and there's a single like light post, and it'll say, I think it's like it was 1846, established in 1846. I'm like, dude, this is so long ago. There's like little vineyards, little vintage shops, just one street, and I mean, it's like the tiniest block of city, but it's so cool. There's so much history there in that tiny little town. It's not loud or anything like that. You can go have a glass of wine, have a steak
Is this near like Solvang or
above Solvang.
above Solvang? Okay.
Above Solvang. Um, I want to say yeah, it's above Solvang. So no, you know what? Hold on. So Santa Barbara, Solvang's up here, Del Amo's up here.
Got
So,
it.
yeah.
Got it.
Um, or even I mean Solvang's has a little bit more, buzz.
There's more buzz,
There's more
more
buzz.
happening place. Yeah.
But another one's at San Simeon.
Yeah, there I've been. Yeah.
San Simeon's really nice. Like there's that little place on the beach, a little restaurant, where like had a burger right below Hearst Castle.
Yeah.
Right.
That's why I was there. We went to Hearst Castle.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dude, Hearst Castle is amazing.
Amazing.
All the tapestries up on the thing on the ceiling. You know, they flew all the things in from like Spain and
Yeah,
from Europe. I
the
like your
woodwork, yeah,
tapestries.
like that. No, if you, yeah, if you haven't been to Hearst Castle and you live or travel here, I highly recommend it. Just like just the history of it, and like you're driving up that hill and they have the animals like up on the like and the Grecian pool.
Hmm.
Like maybe it's not Grecian, but to me that's what it looked like.
I
The
mean, it's like a pool from Greece, you
yeah,
know. And I think it's like all the what is it, the zodiac signs, or not zodiac signs, but the gods,
gods
you
around it.
know, or
Yeah,
gods around
yeah.
it. What's cool is like when you're driving up, that he wanted it designed so you could see the castle from, you know, every turnout and every corner. All that history and all that, like, I think for a lot of people it's boring, right? They'd rather be in Vegas, they'd rather be at nightclubs, and hey, kudos, you know, have fun.
Yeah.
But for me, it's like little trips like that, camping on the beach or going to quiet, sleepy little towns. Or I want to go to New Orleans. My brother's been to New Orleans a couple times, I think, and he's just like, dude, it's so different, right? There's so much history there, so different. They might, you know, pull on your feet in the middle of the night, like one of the ghosts or something, because it's one of the most haunted places, I guess, in the world,
Oh, I've
supposedly.
had some
So,
experiences.
have you
Yeah,
in New Orleans?
yeah, in New Orleans.
What did they pull at your feet or?
What? That's for the next podcast. We'll talk about ghosts and aliens, which I just saw some UFOs. Again, UFOs are don't mean aliens, but I did New
It's
Year's
an
Eve,
unidentified flying
and I
object.
saw two UFOs on New Year's Eve or New Year's Day,
Where?
technically. South Pasadena.
Okay.
True story. But yeah, I've had a lot of ghost run-ins in my life. Lots of UFOs I've seen traveling late at night or weird instances, you know. Again, the more you're out there, the more stuff you see that you can't explain.
Yeah.
Um, well,
No, no,
that's
no,
we
dude.
could be here hours.
No, honestly, yeah, we'll do it next time. My bro, but just really quickly on that, my brother's like, dude, my girl just saw a UFO. Like, I'm not kidding. And then he starts describing it to me, and um, so he ended up she ended up seeing it on one day, and 2 days later, he ends up seeing something different. He's like, yeah, I was like in my backyard, and like, you know, it's coming and it's flying and it's doing these weird things, and I know it's not a plane. There's no freaking way a plane moves that way.
Right.
And so then he goes to tell her, he's like, hey, I saw this. And she goes, you gotta get out of here because this is what just happened to me and I didn't tell you. He's like, damn you, damn aliens are chasing me around. So yeah, UFOs and all that stuff. I grew up listening to my uncle talk about aliens and UFOs, so it doesn't weird me out. You know, I mean, like it weirds me out, but it doesn't weird me out. Like some people are just like, oh, I don't want to hear that. You know, they're just very closed off to it.
I'm so there's a few things I want to hint on that we've been talking about as far as traveling and culture and people, and also the unknown and things like UFOs. That I mean, again, doesn't mean time. In college, because I went to a liberal arts college and I got a business administration degree, you had to take all sorts of things in order to get your degree. Part of that was math and then science. And I was not into biology so much and chemistry, but I liked other parts of sciences. And one aspect was astrophysics. I got super into physics and specifically astrophysics, which is why I have tattoos. I mean, that's, you know, these are all basically related to astrophysics. And it is the most cool, fascinating thing. Like, lots of work. I had to study hard to do well in it, but you learn the way things work and the way they came together, and like it explains so much in the world that people don't realize. How the solar system formed, how we became to be, how just weather works, all the little things in the universe, and part of it, you know, it can't help but be brought up where somebody be like, Professor such and such, are there aliens? And you kind of go through the science and the pure, you know, chances that life could visit Earth from far away. And so when you get into that, you're like, okay, it's a UFO, but I don't necessarily believe in that. Or like the physics of ghosts, or what happened to a human being when you die or whatever. It's like, well, technically what I've learned and what I know to be true, that one couldn't be ghosts. But that being said, I have seen some things in my life that I can't explain multiple times. So I don't know, kind of a
That's
crazy,
well, that's the thing, right? So logic tells you one thing, right?
yeah,
And then the other part is what I was telling my friend the other day, and I'm like, I can't say that I didn't see it. I saw what I saw.
yeah,
So now I'm like, but how, oh shit, dude, was it a reflection of light? Like now I'm trying to process it logically, right? What was it to debunk what I just saw?
yeah,
And I've seen it multiple times.
yeah,
So I understand where you're coming from,
yeah.
you know.
And the best story that we will tell for next time, where the cliffhanger is Ghost Dad. My dad passed away, and I've got some great Ghost Dad stories. Great. And my mom is a very religious person, and we'll have her on too, and she will testify with me about Ghost Dad next time. That's the
Next time.
cliffhanger.
Yeah, that's the cliffhanger. Um, so I guess I know that we have quite a bit of time. You and I are going to hang out today, but I also want to be respectful of us just kind of sitting here. But I do just kind of maybe want to finish up with what you do for a living, man, because obviously it's a big part of your life, and I know you kind of touched on a few things.
Yeah, yeah,
We're in your studio, right?
yeah,
So this is what we would call your studio. We'll get some shots of it, and you do it from a capacity of a self-employed contractor.
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
So part of aside from the music stuff, but part of what I know you've had to do is put yourself out there, make those connections, vibe with people, network, negotiate, right? So I think your business degree,
hmm,
I would assume,
yeah,
has helped you with that.
tremendously. Yeah,
And then you have the artist side. So I think sometimes people struggle with either one, right? They're a great artist, but they have no idea how to negotiate, how to introduce themselves, socially awkward.
yeah.
And then sometimes people are really good at this side, but then they're not that great of an artist. So how have you been able to like combine both so you can have the success that you have? Because not only are you performing with multiple artists, but then you're also having artists come here, and then you're also teaching. So there's a lot that's kind of going on, but it all revolves around your passion for drumming.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
again, I think just to kind of um, summarize the question, it's how do you differentiate like the business side between like the artistic side when making a choice of how to approach, let's say, a potential gig, a potential artist, and to be able to move forward and actually find success?
Got a great, great, great question. Um, and it's something that I have to reflect on and come around to and work at all the time. And I think any successful person in any field, I think they have to learn. It's not so much like the artistic and business side of things, but always the communication process with people, and then also focusing on what you're supposed to do for a living and what you love. So that being said, I I've looked around like at friends that I've made and coworkers, other musicians that I play with, and ages younger or older than me, and sometimes they are fantastic artists. We'll take that fantastic artist, but they love to party, and like they can get down uh and bro down better, or like be in that hang state more than I could. It's not like I didn't enjoy. I mean, some of these people are my best friends to this day, but in whatever situation we were in our years of, playing or whatever, they would be the ones that would stay out till 4 or 5 in the morning, partying, girls, drugs, drinking, the after parties and everything. And I always tended to be the one that would be thinking about the next day and be like, oh, I have to get up. And I mean, I stay in shape, so I get up at 5:30 or 6 in the morning, whatever it is, to get to the gym. And so I always had that, or like a lot of what I like to do is session work. starts earlier in the day. So I'm already thinking about that. I don't want to be hungover, and I'm processing and getting ready for the next thing on my list, where some people just like to enjoy the moment, and there's no right or wrong. But for me, having being able to pay my bills by doing music and drumming was always important to me. So it was that experience I had with school, the process of learning, and like we already talked about, and still trying to be a cool dude and doing the hang, which I love. I mean, I love the people I meet um, and that side of things and having fun, but also having a line that you just kind of keep yourself in check, and to be honest, like I would be a lot closer with some of these friends, and I see their relationships with the similar guys or girls. I'm like, oh, they became a lot closer because they did the hangs longer and they were around each other for certain life experiences. You can't help but bond and get closer. But for me, I wanted to have that, but there was always a limit where I'm like, okay, focus on this next path. If that answers the question.
It does. It just tells me and kind of just reiterates in my mind that you're just very self-aware.
Yeah, for sure.
You're very self-aware. So I try to do the same thing now, where if I go somewhere, like I'm out. People was like, "Well, where's George?" I'm like, "I disappeared."
Hmm.
Like I'm gone. In the meantime, like they're going bar hopping,
Right.
and they're out till you know wee hours of the morning, and I'm like, dude, I'm going to bed. I'm going home. There's nothing I'm gonna get from this that I didn't get, in the last hour. The friendship, the camaraderie, the feeling good. Like I'm done. I've already reached my point.
Yeah. Yeah.
And to each their own, right?
Right.
So like find like you want to stay out, like find that happiness. So I think for you, what I recognize in you and what I see in you is you're a very self-aware individual and you're very responsible.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't call myself a square by any means, but it would be perceived that way by some people. Like, oh, Zach's like business, and like, have I lost a few gigs because of that? Not lost, but maybe you don't get called because maybe you're not as good of a party hang, and then I would have some friends of mine that'd be like, well, you probably don't want those opportunities or those gigs anyway because you're always trying to climb that ladder to the next gig. You know what I mean? And
You start compromising things that are important to you, I think, sometimes.
mhm,
Um, if you were to take those gigs, right? So it's almost like I've sometimes like, okay, well, it wasn't for me. It wasn't for me.
yeah,
And that's all it was. And I'll just like, we found our path and we find our path in life, but that opportunity was never an opportunity. I never even had it. Um, what's more important to me is my peace of mind now, right? Um, so I see that in you, and I don't know you. I haven't known you
yeah.
for that
We've
long.
only met. I mean, twice. This is actually technically just a second.
This is our second date.
Second date. It's going. I think it's going well.
It's going well, man.
We've
Yeah.
slid into each other's DMs a few times.
Yeah, yeah. Vanish mode, not yet, but it will happen. So, and a lot of people don't even know what that is.
Oh,
But
that's funny.
um, so can you name? And I don't know any of this stuff, right? But can you name who you work with, or is that like something that you could say, not say,
Well,
or
people who I have worked with.
who do you work with? Like,
Yeah,
what do you like? How, Mr. Saint John?
yeah.
How good of a drummer are you? Like, brag about yourself.
Oof.
Boast about yourself. I like you to tell me like who you work with.
I have worked with some pretty incredible artists over the years, and for whatever reason, sometimes you're with them for a couple of gigs, sometimes it's for a couple of years, sometimes from the start to finish of a artist career. I will start with some big ones. And I have lots of different aspects of what I do around drums. Like we talked about, like I play obviously live and record. That's how I make most of my money. I teach, another aspect. I do consulting work, which means I get brought into different situations to show other drummers or um, teach them the process of recording drums or uh, help producers. Like a lot of producers these days drum on the albums. Like there's budgets aren't as big, and like pop music doesn't require the level of a player that needs to be, a phenom drummer. The producer can just lay down beat, and so I'll be there and help them guide through what drums to use, how to play them, what cymbals, snares, that whole thing. So that's drum consulting. Um, Another major part of my business is and career is working for a company called Drum Doctors, and basically it's kind of that same thing of like drum consulting of a high level, bringing in drums and guidance and knowledge and tuning for recording sessions around Los Angeles. So there's all different aspects of what I do, and I've gotten to work with huge artists and all different genres of that. So some big ones would be Stevie Wonder. I've gotten to record one-on-one with Stevie Wonder. It's one of my most proud, amazing pinch me moments a few times, which is great. Um, this last few years, I've been working with Metallica on the regular basis and got brought into their camp for all different aspects. Um, I've had to sign NDA, so I can't tell you too much other than that.
I
But
know that's why I said I'm like, I'm gonna
uh,
ask, and then he can say what he wants to
yeah,
say.
there's a crazy thing where I got called in to work with Corey Taylor, who's from Slipknot, Stone Sour. So that's Corey Taylor,
The one
and
we're listening to
yeah,
earlier.
what's exactly, yeah. There's a band called the Black Star Riders, which was it was a formation from a legacy act called Thin Lizzy. I don't know if you Thin Lizzy is
I
the
know.
classic rock band. So that's a band that I play with right now, the Black Star Riders. Again, that's super amazing dudes and musicians, and I love doing that. I've worked with Justin Bieber, Justin Timberlake, Lady Gaga. I've been on movies that you've seen, soundtracks, and it's yeah. I don't. Every day is different. Um, so it's just exciting, and being with
That's all kinds of different music too.
all kinds of different music, and I love that. There's a story that I've told on in other interviews about. I had I'll clip note it real quick, but growing up, I was in college. Drummer who I thought was amazing saw me play, heard me play, and like I thought I was going to be kind of a mentor. And basically, he told me, "You can't play all different styles of music. You should quit drumming. Find something else to do." It's a very long, interesting story, and I would elaborate on it, but just for the sake of getting to the point, because I love playing different styles and had different influences, he saw that as a negative, and like because he didn't come from that aspect, he's like, pick your genre, pick your style, do that, focus on that only, and it didn't turn me on. It still doesn't turn me on. So um, I love all different styles, and it just keeps it fun, and like I love watching artists that I play with grow. So sure, jumping on with the Metallica bandwagon that's super amazing, and I can't believe that's where I'm at these days, getting to work with Metallica. It's great. But also, there's uh, an artist. Her name is Annie Bosco, who's a country artist, and I've been aware of her, and I've kind of been around her since I moved to LA. And she's been a songwriter, and I think we're about the same age. She's a little younger, I think. She was doing it for years, and just finally last year, uh, the first gig I ever did with her was this big showcase. But top end musicians flew on from Nashville. Used most of the guys here in LA. So this great band got together for her at her showcase, and we did this show. And from there, like she got management, got signed, and finally, after years and years of pounding the ground, this singer songwriter who has a equal work ethic to me, which is for me to give that badge says a lot because nobody works harder than me. She's worked hard and she's got this going, and like things are happening for her. She just performed in the Rose Parade. Um, I unfortunately am not going to be playing on Monday on Jimmy Kimmel with her. She has another drummer that she works with that's going to be doing it, but she's going to be on Jimmy Kimmel on Monday. She's doing a headlining show at the Troubadour. So it's for me, it's great to be a part of that process too, and like and understand that there's lessons to be learned in what I just said. Like you might not always get the gig because people have histories with other people, and that's okay. But you can still be really proud of people's success around you, and that should motivate you. And I use that all the different artists and genres and levels to help me, push through the difficult parts of being a musician, the depression and the no work and not knowing when you're going to make money, and the highs and the lows. So yeah.
It's I love to see people succeed, man.
right? Yeah,
It's
love it.
and complete fucking strangers, dude. People I don't know. People, I mean, just random strangers, and I see them make it, and whatever it is that they, are trying to find a form of success, and uh, it makes me happy to see people accomplish something because I know, or I can only imagine what it means to them.
Right.
And one of the things that I think we all can kind of look at is those shows that they do on TV, like the singers and stuff like that. And sometimes they're, they kind of show their backstory. And I'm like, and they were trying and they were trying and they were trying and they were trying. And it's the law of the iceberg, right?
Yeah,
So the
yeah.
iceberg is huge. And then you just see
You see a
this
little part of the
little
surface.
part of it.
Yeah,
And people are like, "Oh, he's an overnight success." Overnight success. It's like, "Really?" Like, you don't know what I've been through. All you know is now you know my name.
yeah,
You don't know like this girl's story, right? Like everything
right.
that she tried to do to get to where she's at. People aren't with you through your trials and tribulations. Your friends are, your coworkers are, the people that are closest to you know how much you did, but the others aren't, and they just see like once you air quotes make it. And for me, I recognize that in all of us who find success, there's that struggle, that depression, that like doubt, you know, um, to keep yourself going. Obviously, in your situation, you're married, responsibilities, you're already a very self-aware guy and responsible. But I guess I'd like to just for you to leave a message with people of how do you get through those dark moments? What helps you get through your dark moments and what motivates you moving forward?
Great question. And I would have to assume most everybody I know, myself included, it gets dark sometimes, real dark, and I think this it must happen to other people in other fields. I don't know those people as much because I'm not around them, but depression is such a just a big thing, and it's amplified by the awareness of people around us, social media, seeing as a musician. Well, I can only speak from my point of view, but if I'm not working or if I see some drummer get an opportunity that I think, oh wait, why didn't I get that? Why am I not doing that? Wait, oh, they're playing, they're doing this gig. Oh wow, look at this. Oh, they're taking off. Oh man, God, I deserve that. And you get into that mentality, uh, and it's like, "Ugh, I'm not doing anything. I'm worthless right now. I should just quit." Or you see somebody playing and like sometimes my mood's like, that's so inspiring. That's amazing. I can't wait to do that. But other times, if I'm in the wrong mindset, I'm like, fuck, I'm just going to quit. And again, like, but then realizing me like, wait, you don't want to quit drumming. Don't, you should be like, oh, use that inspiration and like, and it's a lot to talk yourself out of some of those deep, dark holes that you get into. And, and it's really just knowing that there's going to be light at the end of the tunnel and trying to focus on things that make you happy at that moment, and it's really hard, admittedly. That can be really hard. And I'm a pretty strong-minded person and like self-aware, and it's uh it's a process of like, I know, okay, oh, it's going to be fine. Things happen for a reason, you know what I mean? I'm a true believer in that, and I follow the path that life is taking me, and I just keep working hard and giving my 100% effort, and just know that it's going to work out in whatever way it's going to, you like the live TV thing on Monday. It's one of my biggest goals to play on late night television. Growing up, you saw all the bands. Like I was like, oh my god, that's so cool. Monday was supposed to be the day. Didn't turn out to work that way, even though I was real close. Like, I mean, could have went either way. You know what I mean? And I'm like, oh, bummer. Well, that's fine. There's going to be another opportunity for it, uh, and then I go, I'm so happy for the success of those people that are being on the show, and or the tour is happening with this band. It's like, oh, that's great, good. Okay, Zach, positive, be uplifting and happy for other people, and that eventually translates into turning around the negative feelings. Also, I'll do things that I love. So I'll eat some great food. I'll drink some great wine, booze. I'll watch a great movie. I'll go out and hang out with friends. Right now, admittedly, like this week has been really slow. So I'll be like, hey, George, what are you doing? Let's finally do our hang we've been talking
Yeah.
about. And let's, hang out today and talk and get to know each other better and go get some food tonight. And so that's what gets me out of it. Other humans, funny enough, get me out of it.
I
Yeah.
like that. I think it's all a matter of perspective, right? So my mom would always say, "Don't drown in a glass of water." Like, what do you mean? She's like, "Don't drown in a glass of water." I'm like, "Mom, what are you talking about?" She goes, "It's all in here. Like it's all in here.
Yeah.
Like the positive that you give yourself, the negative that you give yourself, it's all in here. How do you look at it? How do you see it? How do you move forward?" And I think sometimes we don't want to give ourselves the time to feel depressed. Like I think that you're allowed to feel sad. You're allowed to feel depressed and fucking mad.
Yeah.
Like I would have put my balls on that guy's drum set. That's gonna be on the line. I had to say that. I would have gone to Jimmy Kimmel's studio and done it right before he played. But
Yeah.
you're allowed to feel a certain way. But what I always say is you're not allowed to stay there.
No,
You
I agree. That's so well said.
you know.
So well said. You really hint. I missed that part. You hit on one of the most important things. Is I allow myself to feel whatever way I'm feeling, the terrible times. I'm like, it's important to be like aware of it though. Be like, oh, I feel really. I'm gonna let myself ride in this moment. I'm listening to some sad music that gets me in there. I'm gonna be alone. I'm gonna be angry and, whatever it is. But then also be like, okay, that's enough. That's
Yeah,
that was really well said. I think better than ever heard anybody say that perspective.
I'm a
Good
little smart
job.
sometimes.
You've
Um,
You're real smart.
yeah, man, I've caught myself plenty of times in my life, and I'm like, I'm not fucking feeling it today. I'm not feeling peachy, and I'm like, what the like, and I'm thinking about it, like, okay, well, I'm gonna feel this right now, like I know, and then I gotta get out of this tomorrow, because like I gotta get out of this, but today I'm gonna feel this. I'm gonna feel this. Um, we are creatures that feel, man, and sometimes it's talking, sometimes it's painting, sometimes it's music, sometimes you just put a sad song on because you just really got to get the tears out. But
Yeah,
I think that's a
100%.
that's a good message to um, that you said. It's to feel happy for the others that are finding their success, and then to know that there's a light at the end of the tunnel. So,
Yeah, yeah.
well, I appreciate your time, man. Thank you again, and you're gonna play something for us? Can you play something for me?
I can play something for you, I
Yeah.
guess. Yeah,
I mean that'd be cool.
yeah, sure.
We'll capture it on the cam. Um, any last words to
People,
people out there?
thank you for your time and great hanging. It's awesome. I mean, our hang's gonna continue after this. The
Yeah.
behind the scenes footage, maybe we'll know. Yeah, just man, be kind to each other. Like I said, wishing health to somebody is the best thing I can give because without your health, they're just, man, there's nothing. The things that we've talked about just alone 30 minutes today is like, man, everybody take care of yourselves, be kind to each other. That's it. Pass on the love for sure. And I mean it. Yeah, everybody should mean that. And I do mean it.
Be kind to each other. Toodles. Thank you, man. I really appreciate you
Yeah,
and your time.
you too, buddy.
Cool. We're good.
Nice.
Is that okay?
Good. That was
Was it okay?
great.
Yeah.
Fun. You good?
I'm good.
Am I doing right?